Extra, extra. Weird news.
Weird all about it.
Hello and welcome to Wyrd Wessex Wextra Weird News.
No, guy, you got the name wrong. I'm leaving that in. Weird News Wextra.
Weird News Wex. Oh, all the words were right, Craig. All the words were right.
You're not even drunk yet. Well, I hope not.
It's
And then I think only the second time we've ever recorded in the daylight.
with my tiny coffee.
So yeah, we're gonna just run through some of the weird news stories that we like from the last sort of 7 days or so. Because we can never fit them all into the main episode. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to start? I think you possibly have one more than me. So if you wanna go for it first.
Yeah. I've tried to get a bit of a range today. So we're gonna start very light here. Woman mistakes bobble for baby hedgehog and rushes it to Cheshire Animal Hospital.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna share the screen because actually it might be, I think it adds to something if you can. Right, are you getting
I can
this?
see that. I can see that.
So check out this picture. Oh, no
No,
thanks. I
thank
don't need
you.
updates.
Oh,
There
I
we
get
go.
it. I get it. Oh, she's put food down for it and everything. Some wet cat food. Look at
Yeah,
that.
she kept. Yeah, so there's your picture. So yeah, the story is staff at a Cheshire Wildlife Hospital were surprised to find a baby hedgehog brought to them for treatment was in fact a furry hat bubble after a bizarre case of mistaken identity. Staff at the Lower Moss Wood Nature Reserve and Wildlife Hospital near Knutsford said their hearts melted when they realized the kind soul had bought them a bubble, mistaking it for a stricken hedgehog. The Good
That
Samaritan had placed the bubble into a box with food and a hot water bottle overnight, bringing it to Lower Moss Wood first thing in the morning. I mean, that's basically it.
so they picked it up.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. Can you imagine? It's like, oh, that's so cute. That's £300, please.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Like she must have felt stupid, but at the same time, the fact that it's in the news and everyone keeps bringing it back
I
up.
know.
The
It
poor woman.
to be honest, it's an easy mistake to make, right? So
Mm,
I was sitting in my parents' living room a few years ago, and you sort of like it's in a close, so you've got like houses all around, a little bit of green, like sort of out next to the parked cars, and more and more often, which is wonderful. I won't wax lyrical about the reintroduction of red kites, but it's fantastic. There was like 15 breeding pairs. Now there's hundreds of the buggers, but you get a lot of red kites over there,
yeah.
and you hear them screeching, and it's always nice to see. So I looked out and I saw this red kite like flying, sort of weird, and it had something in its claws. And I was like, shit, it's got something, and it flew over like the neighbours opposite my parents, a lady called
Yeah.
Sally, dropped this like furry grey thing. It looked like a squirrel. I think it was a
Yeah.
squirrel, and it drops it on the roof, screeches, grabs it again, flies about again, and then drops it in her garden, flaps around a bit, and flies off. And so I call Sally because I'm really lazy and don't want to go outside. Um, I call Sally and I say, I think a red kite's just dropped a dead thing in your garden, just a heads up. And she was like, "Oh God, okay." And she looks around and she can't find anything. She can't find it. And I said, "Oh, I'll come and help you look." So I went over to help her look, and we're looking around the garden, and just by her shed, I see something. So Sally, tiny little grey slipper. Is this yours? It's like, no, I've never seen it before. And it had literally grabbed a grey slipper, a little fluffy slipper from someone's garden, pulled it, like flew around with it, and then dropped it. And I checked on like the local Facebook page and I said, is anyone
Yeah.
missing a slipper? And it turns out it was someone from like 4 streets away. And it was in there on their out just outside their back door. So if
Yeah.
an apex sky predator can make that mistake,
So can the Good Samaritan.
So can the Good Samaritan.
Oh, mate, wait till you see the rest of my stories. That was the light-hearted one.
Okay, okay. Oh no, I spilled coffee on my lovely Wyrd Wessex merch t-shirt.
You need to sit so that it just sits above the screen. Just about no, just the tip. Just the tip. Go
That's
on.
just the tip. There you go, just the tip. I've got my camera. I haven't got my I bought a clamp for my phone, so I'm like a real YouTuber, a real podcaster, but it hasn't turned up yet. So I've got my phone very precariously balanced at the moment. So if I'm worried if I adjust it, it's just going to fall down. Um, I guess I should do some weird news.
Go on then.
In keeping with half my weird news story, half my weird news stories.
Yeah.
Zigzagging UFO spotted hovering above nuclear power plant.
Oh, do you know I saw that headline, but I never
It's
read the article.
it's what I thought you wanted to believe. Um,
No, no, I don't. I've given
give
up.
it up. Definitely. Oh, you've gone
No, no.
scared.
What Andy's referring to my recent tattoo that says "I want to believe," but I'm hoping one day to have it reworded that it says "I believe."
Yeah, yeah. Just scrub some out, you know. Um,
Technically, it says "I want to believe" because they don't have V's in on.
ah, okay. Invent one. So, footage has emerged showing a suspect UFO zigzagging above a nuclear power plant. The mysterious bright lights were spotted hovering repeatedly above the largest nuclear station in India, sparking concerns
Oh, in
over its
India.
safety. In India.
I've heard of some in Russia before.
Yeah, there's a lot
Recently.
of stuff about them going around nuclear power plants.
Hmm.
Um, Indian police investigator Syed Abdul Qaeda filmed a bright speck of light making darting movements as the night sky above the plant. He fears the flying object is an extraterrestrial visitor, and he is not the only one concerned about it. Now, before I go on, I have seen this footage. I
Yeah,
haven't found it outside of like crappy YouTube videos with someone like doing really fake reactions to them, as opposed
yeah.
to we're going to do it and we'll do very real reactions. Um, and but it does just look like someone's wobbling their phone and it's like a plane or something. It could be wrong. Like it does seem to hover and zip off.
Can you like share the video or
I can do. 1 second, let me find
are we
it.
gonna have to react to someone else's reaction video? Is that what?
Right. This is
Is that
awful.
like if we react to someone's reaction video and then someone reacts to our video, we can
It's
like inception the podcast.
reactception, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Let me see. Share
We can
screen.
do two reactions, one to the footage and one to the reaction of the footage. Oh, here we go.
Right, can you
And
see
he's gone mad with power.
it? So it's up there. It's up like between the. Do you see it just zip off? I'm going to rewind that a second. So in between the moon, that weird spotlighty thing that I reckon would be a much cooler alien.
Yeah. And
That's
that's
literally all there is. Watch it, and it zips off to the top right. And zip. And then it's
that's
just some pictures of the nuclear
yeah.
power plant.
That's kind of I don't know, underwhelming
It is
because
underwhelming.
the zip off at the end was the weirdest bit, I guess. But you almost blink and you miss that.
You know what I mean? It's like, is that it? Is that
Yeah.
apparently you can it mentions on the article as well that his wife is talking about it. So I'm guessing that's not the full video. Um, for years, India's leading UFO expert Sabu Hussain, with backing from former US military experts, has urged for more serious action after several unexplained sightings near the country's nuclear facilities. Kada's shaky video shows a bright dot flying roughly at the altitude of an airplane on August the 8th last year. I don't know why it's come out now. The excited UFO spotter told his wife as he followed the unusual object, "It's shaking when it's moving, it's going up and down." He claimed the way it moved, it was never an airplane. So you do get people, whether it's like other governments or whether
Yeah.
it's enthusiasts or whatever, I think people do also tend to stick drones up around there to have a look. So it
It
may be
looks,
a drone.
I mean, I don't know where the power plant is in relation to that, but that looks tiny and in the distance,
Yeah,
not hovering over a power plant. I would imagine the spotlight is roughly where the power plant is,
yeah, I think so.
which means it was hovering in the distance. It wasn't hovering over the power plant. I
The
don't know.
alleged sighting could be caused by the constant camera movement. Sometimes planets like Jupiter and Mercury or Sirius Star have been mistakenly reported as UFOs, but
And they zip off into the distance too, don't
yeah, the
they?
Commode planets don't offer explanations. Cada's sighting, which was captured at 7:30 local time, a sky map for his hometown shows that Venus was completely obscured at that time, below the western horizon and below the sunset. Um, so
Yeah.
It also goes on around the same time as Cada sighting, other reported spotting aliens on the eastern coast on the outskirts of Chennai. The area is home to the Madras Atomic Power Station. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and basically it goes on to say that it's sort of a not too uncommon occurrence seeing them above power stations. Um,
I'm trying to work out now whether, because you've done quite, and I know for whoever's watching this, they, depending on when you watch this, some of the weird news is on the main episode might not have come out yet. But you've had a bit of a thing for UFOs recently. But I'm trying to work out whether it's you that's got a thing for UFOs or if there's like a resurgence of cases. Like,
I
is
think
it
there's a
just,
resurgence of cases, you know,
yeah.
or maybe a bit of both. Um, Apparently, one thing that I did think was interesting is um, the guy, this Hussein guy, is petitioning the Indian Supreme Court to warn officials not to dismiss UFO activity by
Hmm.
the power plants because he's worried that it might cause a war between India and Pakistan if they think it's like their neighbor, when in fact it's a
Hmm.
UFO. Um, he just says
Yeah.
ominously afterwards, both countries have nuclear weapons. He has been in contact with Robert Salas, the US Air Force guy that talked a lot about UFOs.
Hmm.
So yeah, but anyway, that's round about it. It goes on, but yeah, it's a difficult one. It doesn't. It's very shaky, but it is a little bit weird how it zips off. But could be a drone.
Yeah.
Um,
I've never seen a zone, a drone zip off that quickly though.
no, I mean they are pretty nippy, but you know,
I mean, but then it kind of disappears so quickly that does it zip off or do the lights on it just go out? If you see what I mean? Like, does it just,
well, it depends if it. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
yeah,
I think the lights are supposed to stay on. Whether they've altered it or whether it is like where it's sort of like turning and the lights are facing away from the camera then.
yeah,
But it's a weird one. Yeah. Well, I guess that's
weird.
in the name.
All
um,
right.
what's your next one?
Okay, so we're ramping up from people mistaking fluff balls for animals. So, mysterious monolith appears on a Welsh hilltop.
Oh, that's just a rock.
No, this is, I'll tell you what, again, let's just share so you can see.
Rub it in your screen sharing privileges.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like.
Mm. I think I've heard of this because one appeared on a beach a while ago.
Yeah, I think they've appeared globally recently. But this one's from March. So a mysterious monolith has suddenly appeared on a hilltop in Powys. I think is how you say that. The
Powys.
Gleam Powys. All right.
That's how I've always said it. I'm probably butchering it. Apologies to any Welsh speakers.
The gleaming silver structure was spotted by walkers on Hay Bluff near the town of Hay on Wye on the weekend. Sprouting up out of the mud and measuring about 10 foot or 3 meters tall, its discovery has led many to take to social media to question who put it there and why.
Well, it's so the apes can discover like bone and stone tools and kick off evolution.
It looks like an art sculpture type thing to me. It
I,
says
it,
some
I think it is that I said if it's the same guy that's been doing it other places, it is sort of like an art installation basically. But it gets people talking.
some have pondered whether or not the object could be extraterrestrial origin. I like there's a couple of links here to similar articles, and there's one that the headline is in quotations, not Banksy, monolith appears at Glastonbury tour. These are made by not Banksy.
Side note, we should do an episode from Glastonbury.
I'll tell you what, we're having a bit of a there's another Craig here. So local builder Craig Muir said he was taken aback when he spotted what he assumed was some sort of UFO while out hiking. It seemed like a very fine metallic, almost like a surgical steel, he said, describing the monolith, a large single upright block usually made of stone. It looked perfectly level and steady despite the weather being windy. Since there's no way to drive up to the top of the hill, Mr. Muir suggested it could have been taken up there by a group of people or dropped into position from a helicopter. But it didn't seem like it was just chucked there. It was accurately put into the ground, he said. There are no obvious tracks around it, and no one would think that something like that. And one would think that something like that would cause a lot of mess.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe it was carried between them, you know.
Yeah.
Or on rollers or a sled.
So similar objects have been discovered across the world in recent years, including one on the Isle of Wight.
There's one in the desert as well somewhere.
Similar ones have been seen in Cornwall and a few isolated places in Europe. One even popped up on Glastonbury tour. Yeah, that's the end of it. There you go. That's
Interesting.
Weird.
It's I think it is an art installation, but you know, maybe it's aliens.
They say it's interesting because it's a heavy bit of metal. So if you dragged it up there, you'd have track marks.
Helicopter.
Yeah. But then that means someone wealthy did it because helicopters ain't cheap.
This is true. This is true. But maybe they did, you know. Wealthy people can be artists too.
Maybe it was a UFO and they also like art.
Yeah. Or it's a big post that when they drop Bigfoot off for a poo, they tie it so it doesn't get loose anymore. That's why there's been no Bigfoot spottings in the UK.
Or it fell off of a UFO. It's a part of a UFO and it landed. It's so heavy that as it came down, it struck the ground and just stayed there. There you go. We solved that one.
Solved it. Next news. Okay. Our good old friend Baba Vanga has made news. Baba Vanga's eerie 2024 predictions are coming true.
I think the Asparamancer ones have started to come true as well.
Yeah. It's Asparamancer. I still can't get over that. Such a good name. The 2024 predictions for the Nostradamus of the Balkans appears to be coming true just 4 months into the year. Baba Vanga is a Bulgarian mystic who's correctly predicted many past world events: the Chernobyl disaster in Ukraine, the deaths of Princess Diana, New York, 9/11, even her own death. But 28 years after her death, what's almost more upsetting and weird is her own death in 1996, which was 28 years. That's terrifying. That was 28 years ago. So old.
You are, yeah.
So the predictions for this year include alien encounters and the end for Russian President Vladimir Putin.
I don't think that's happened yet.
No.
As of recording.
No, he's a clone. I've just put us on the KGB hit list now. We know the truth.
Hey, These are the views of Andy Stevens. Also, Andrew Stevens, who lives at Bournemouth. I don't know your address. I'll fill it in later.
They're going to come after you anyway because you look kind of like Rasputin.
Rasputin. I want to do an episode on Rasputin.
It would be good. It would be good. So far this year, her other predictions, terrorist attacks in Europe and a surge in cyber attacks and medical and technological breakthroughs are happening. These are vague.
I think they've got to Andy. He's been poisoned.
Yeah, that's it. I thought this coffee tasted a bit radioactive. Novichok. Europe is supposedly set for increased terrorist attacks in 2024, the clairvoyant warned, and the recent attack in Moscow's Crocus City Hall seems to point to signs she was right. More than 110 people died. Heavily armed attackers stormed into the concert hall on the outskirts of Moscow in late March. Just hours after the attack, the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the brutality, and the danger level in other countries was also raised. The attack prompted German Interior Minister to warn football fans to be on high alert 75 days ahead of the Euro 2024 kickoff in Germany. Multiple governments have suffered exhaustive cyber attacks in 2023 and in 2024. Technology issues have already struck the world. WhatsApp was down a few times. Greggs, McDonald's, Tesco's and Sainsbury's have all experienced hacking this year, leaving them unable to process payments. And a shadowy hacking group has threatened to release patient data, worrying those who use the NHS. But it's only April. Vanga warned this year's cyber attacks will not be the run of the mill. She predicted they will up level in sophistication, targeting critical infrastructure like power grids and water treatment facilities. And it goes on to talk about tech and medical breakthroughs as well, along with treatments for incurable disease such as Alzheimer's and certain cancers. And there have been a couple. It goes on to talk about a vaccine that they're making leeway into, which could protect future people from Alzheimer's, like protect generations after you.
You just got to stop picking your nose. That's what they reckon now, isn't it? Picking your nose causes it.
But I thought if you left too many bogies up there, it could be problems otherwise. And scientists discovered a new wonder drug for aggressive cancers, which quadrupled 3-year survival rates. It then goes on to say she predicted there'll be a major breakthrough in quantum computing. The AI might also, the leaps and bounds in AI might be indicative of that as well. And she also predicted encounters with aliens or alien-related events in the future.
Didn't we cover this on a Weird News originally?
I think we did. It was like that specific prediction, but it's saying how.
So I'm just wondering how many of the predictions have come true, because you're like, well, this could still happen and that could still happen. So hang on. At this point, what things has she got right?
So cyber attacks, a bunch of cyber attacks she's got right.
Yeah.
She got right the medical breakthroughs, potentially if they pay off.
Yeah.
The alien one, people are pointing to that zigzagging UFO, which
yeah,
and some other alien encounters. The end for which one of them I won't mention because it's one of my other weird newses. She's also predicted that an assassination attempt will be made on Putin this year from one of his own countrymen. So yeah, it's not a massive amount, but it's pointing towards the medical breakthroughs. It's pointing towards the cyber attacks and the terrorism.
But I think the Experimental was closer with, like, wasn't there a health scare for King Charles and stuff like that? That's all.
Yeah, I think she predict he would die though.
I thought it was just a health scare that would lead to him stepping down. I thought
we'll come there. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
But yeah, I'm sure I've seen some other stuff about Experimental that I thought, hang on, we've covered this already.
Okay, all right. Experimental 2024. Olympic disappointment for Team GB. Royal divorces. It was divorces.
Okay.
Olympic disappointment for Team GB in the Olympics. A female president, the US.
Yeah, that seems increasingly unlikely.
Yeah, well, it depends. If Joe Biden steps
Cops it.
down or something happens to him or something, you've got Nancy Pelosi, isn't it? That's no, Kamala Harris, sorry. I'm not talking about Pelosi, it's Harris.
Mm.
Is the vice president. Right, regime change will take place throughout the world. So you could argue if Charles stepped down, there could be a regime change. It's not technically a regime, but you know what I mean. The culture of celebrity will be on the wane. Again, we'll definitely cover this. The events in the Middle East will reach a breaking point, although, again, she made these predictions after the attacks from Hamas and the retaliation from Israel. Extremist groups in the UK will lose support, no more holding up traffic or superglue into infrastructure. Shake up within the UK education system. Well, maybe if the Tories are voted out. Death amongst world leaders. And the United States will see their first female president. One could go in hand with the other.
Yeah.
Public figures will be outed as having profited from illegal actions. P. Diddy, maybe. I don't know if you've seen what's going on with him.
Yeah, maybe.
But again, that happens every year. Literally every year that happens.
I thought there was something specific about Charles, but
no.
I must be thinking something else.
Influence will lose their sway as people realise the real world they live in that matters. Which I hope, apart from people that do, sort of paranormal and weird stuff on YouTube, listen to them.
That's on the rise, I think. It's on the rise, mate.
UK will see a return to active politics from a previous leader. Now, that already happened with David Cameron, like before New Year. He was host. Tony Blair ends up leading the Labour Party. I don't know. But climate change will become a victim of compassion overload. So, yeah, we'll see. Again, all vagaries.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Over to you.
Over to me. They get better, people. Keep watching, honest.
We're starting off with the soft ones. I've got
they're getting darker.
A banger for my last one.
I'm just thinking whether I do. I've got a light one. Do we want to end on a light one?
Mine's fairly light, I think. But yeah, yours will be the one ending. So
yeah, okay. I'll keep a fairly light one for the end, I think. Okay, so new HIV cases linked to shuttered New Mexico salon that offered vampire facials.
Vampire Facials is my new band name.
Well,
I'm not laughing at HIV cases by any means, but Jesus, Vampire Facial. So I'm guessing that's not the sort of thing I'd look up on Pornhub. This is like making your face look like a vampire, right?
It might be in the article, but I believe a vampire facial is where they take some of your blood and then inject it into your face.
Read the article.
Tell you what, shall I read the article?
I reckon
Instead of trying to make it up.
I kind of like this game, but no, yeah, definitely read the article.
There's a new game is we read the headline and then we just make up what it's probably about. It's more successful.
Sometimes it turns out weirder, the actual article than what we can guess. But
so New Mexico health officials say new HIV infection has been linked to a salon that performed so-called vampire facials almost 5 years after the business closed. The Albuquerque salon, called VIP Spa, was shut down in September 2018 after at least 2 clients tested positive for HIV following the facials. In March, another former client tested positive for HIV, according to a news release from the New Mexico Department of Health. To date, a total of 5 HIV infections have been identified among people with direct or indirect connections with services provided at the VIP Spa. The most recent case prompted the department to reopen the prior investigation into the spa, and health officials are now asking former clients of the salon who have received any type of injection-related service to get tested for HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. Even clients who previously tested negative should test again.
It takes a lot to show up, doesn't
Uh,
it?
I think this is the bit about the procedure. Yeah. So VIP Spa offered Botox injections and vampire facials, a procedure that involves drawing blood from elsewhere in the body, typically the arm, separating out the platelet-rich plasma, pricking facial skin with microneedles, then applying the plasma to the face. The process is meant to make the skin look fresher and lessen the appearance of wrinkles, sun damage, or acne scars.
Have you ever had plasma removed?
No.
It's interesting. It's a really weird process. You sit there hooked up to a machine
Yeah.
and it draws the blood out your arm,
Yeah.
and then it uses a sort of a centrifuge to sort of like basically spin all the plasma out of the blood, and then it
Ooh.
puts your blood back into your body, and it's going in cold. It's really weird. It takes like an hour to get like a pint. I donated some a while ago during the whole COVID thing. So I had COVID early on, and they were looking for plasma of people that had COVID. Turns out
Ah,
my blood type is a universal plasma donor as well. But yeah, it kind of looks like piss.
fair
it
enough.
looks like it looks like dehydrated person's piss.
I
Um,
just love that whatever story I come out with, you've got a related personal anecdote, no matter what. No matter
although
what. Whether it's a lady that misidentifies a fluffy ball for a hedgehog or vampire facials, you've got an anecdote.
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll
um,
see if I can continue that trend.
just seeing if there's anything else worth mentioning. So yeah, according to the health department, after the initial HIV cases were confirmed in 2018, an inspection by it and other agencies identified practices that could potentially spread bloodborne infections such as HIV. This is repeating it, really, isn't it? I mean, we kind of, yeah, that's it. Vampire facials was the headline. That's what got me.
All right, that's pretty gross, but it's not neither of the things that I imagined. But at least I've got a new band name out of it. I'll add that to
I
the list.
think that there are places that do it legitimately and it's not a problem. I think there's obviously some hygiene related with the way that this particular
30
place was doing it.
needles.
Or whether they're mixing like the equipment. So if you're saying they're spinning, whether they're not cleaning correctly using the proper procedure, I don't know.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, going back to animals again, this is not a misidentification. Um, Man ends up in hospital after being bitten by a rat lurking in his toilet.
Oh,
I know, right? I had a little. A
I do
70,
have a little fear of that because you do kind of that. I mean, they can swim and go underwater and they can come up through toilets. So I am a little.
I was about to say I don't have an anecdote relating to it, but I possibly do. Never mind.
Oh God.
I didn't get bitten. I didn't get bitten. I just had a rat infestation when I first moved in. Old floorboards and yeah, old house, and I could hear him at night, sort of running around. And I remember getting up, like, and I'd left like bits of like bread out to like try and find out where they were going to and where they were coming from,
Yeah.
and it taken it into my bathroom, and I heard it clattering around in the bath, and I was like, oh my god! And so I got a fire stick, like a fire spinning stick, and like that's the heaviest thing I could grab. Like I just thought I'm going to brain it. If I see it, I'm going to brain it. And I go into the bathroom and it had gone. And I just remember there was this terrifying moment, and I was like, "Oh my god, please don't have gone down the toilet. Please don't be getting out through the toilet. I can never poo here again." Um, thankfully, there was actually a hole in the sort of like the skirting board behind my toilet, and that's the way they were going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it was just this horrible moment of thinking, Christ, are they coming up through my bob? They
I
were.
don't know if you can see in that back corner where the wood meets the white, there's like some expanding foam. That's from where a rat got in here.
Yes, I see it. Yeah, I remember you talking about that on an earlier episode, or maybe not an
One of,
episode, but while we were
yeah,
chatting.
one of my neighbors has a shed I can see from here, and it's currently riddled with rats nesting underneath it, and they're trying to get rid of them. We've had them under the chicken house and stuff. Like they're about, aren't they?
Well, these bastards, they were like, they were really bold. Like literally, I'd go in to my kitchen after hearing them, and they'd run off. I'd walk out, and then a minute later, they'd be back in the kitchen again, looking around.
Yeah.
Like I got a block of butter out of the fridge, put it on the side, went for a wee, came back, and it had been gnawed.
Rats are
Um,
smart too, man. Like we had them as pets at one point.
they are very
Yeah.
clever.
Mm.
Um,
Anyway,
So, a 76-year-old man narrowly avoided death after being bitten by a diseased rat found lurking in his toilet bowl. It gets worse. The unnamed man, you wouldn't name yourself, from Montreal, Canada, rushed to hospital after a rodent bit two of his fingers while he tried to fish it out from the loo, where he was given a tetanus jab by doctors and sent home. But 18 days later, the man was back in hospital having experienced severe headache, fever, abdominal pain for several days. Though his finger wounds had mostly healed, the man's blood pressure was low and his heart was beating extremely fast. Blood tests showed that his kidneys were damaged and his blood had a low number of platelets. Back to platelets.
mm.
The fragments of cells that form clots to prevent and stop it bleeding. Um, the man was admitted to the intensive care unit where he was found to be suffering from multi-organ dysfunction and sepsis, a dangerous phenomenon which infection sends the immune system into overdrive. After taking blood and urine samples, it was eventually discovered he had contracted an infectious disease called leptospirasis. Leptospirasis, believed to be transmitted from the rat bite. The man was given antibiotics as well as other treatments to address his kidney damage and low platelet levels. After a few days, his symptoms improved and he was discharged from the ICU. People tend to contract leptospirasis after coming into contact with the urine of infected animals or with contaminated soil or water. It's
Yeah,
usually,
because you can get like Will's disease. I don't know if that's the same.
yeah. My mum knew a guy that I think she knew a guy, like a family knew a guy that died from it,
Yeah,
and he
it's
was
pretty
like
severe.
literally having a cut on his leg, and he went swimming in a river, and they reckon, yeah, it was rat pee that did it.
Mm.
It's usually carried by farm animals such as cattle, pigs, or horses, but can also be spread by dogs, raccoons, and in this case, a rat. Although it's typically transmitted through bacteria making contact with the eyes, nose, or mouth, it can also enter the body through broken skin. Uh,
So,
yeah,
but he didn't get bitten until he tried to fish the rat out of the toilet with his
yeah,
hand.
yeah. I'd be tempted to get a plunger and just pin the bastard down.
I'd have flushed.
That wouldn't always work. They're strong swimmers, rats.
Yeah, just keep
Just keep,
flushing.
keep flushing, just keep emptying water on it.
But
Um,
I was, yeah, I'm glad you said the bit his finger because, to be honest, as a man, when you said he was sat on the toilet and he got bitten by a rat, I was
we,
like,
we,
oh
we all
God,
went there. We all went there.
where did he get bitten? I was like crossing my legs.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, thankfully he didn't die. Thankfully he wasn't bitten on the nads.
Thankfully, it was in Canada, so I can still
Thankfully,
shit.
a rat would never do that here.
Mm.
Over to you.
All right, I've got two left. This is the darkest one I've got for today
Excellent.
because we sometimes stray into true crime, as Andy loves it so much. Fentanyl poisoning, the nerdy, weird killer who murdered an Essex couple.
Oof.
Yeah. So Luke DeWitt volunteered at a soup kitchen, helped with a town carnival, and appeared willing and ready to assist anyone who needed it. In reality, the computer science graduate was a cold, calculating murderer described by a senior police officer as one of the most dangerous men he had ever dealt with. Luke DeWitt went to elaborate lengths to win the trust of Stephen and Carol Baxter. He used fake personalities to trick them into taking medication and visited their home so frequently that it came across as, and then it's quoted as, nerdy weird by their daughter. It was all part of his ruse that would ultimately see him poison the couple with fentanyl before rewriting their wills to make himself a major beneficiary. It was just before 8 p.m. on the 7th of April, 2023. I was just checking the date there. I was like, hang on, it's the 6th. That doesn't make sense, but it's 2023. I forgot we're in 24, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, just before 8 o'clock on the 7th of April, 2023, when DeWitt double locked the front door of Mr. and Mrs. Baxter's house on West Mercia in Essex, and he began the short walk home. He planned to settle in for the night and watch crime drama Beyond Paradise at the home he shared with his mum. What his mum did not know was that the previous night, her son had poisoned the Baxters by administering lethal doses of the opioid painkiller fentanyl into their medication. Mr. Baxter, 61, and Mrs. Baxter, 64, were slowly dying in their armchairs. The next day, they would be found dead by their daughter, Ellie. The day after administering the fatal dose, DeWitt calmly took his mother out for breakfast and ice cream. So this article is just a couple of days ago. So the 34-year-old was on Wednesday found guilty of murdering the couple and is awaiting sentence.
Oof, that is dark.
Yep. Says DeWitt appeared to be a friendly member of the close-knit island community who gave his time to helping others. A freelance website designer, he had grown close to the Baxters after building a site for their shower mat business, Kazsplash, maybe. Heidi Cornish, who met DeWitt at a meeting of the Mercia Carnival Association, told the murderer trial he loved to be involved where people need help. He has a good sense of what's right and wrong, she added. Well, I don't know about that. And so it made sense that DeWitt, who kept Mrs. Baxter company on walks and helped her take her medication, would run into the family house in Victory Road after they were found dead. I needed to check on them, he told a police officer at the scene. I always pop in. Kate Dawson, a good friend of the Baxters, says his presence in and around the house, even after their deaths, was not unusual. He was never rude, but was very odd. He was an odd character. He wouldn't say a lot, but was always there. Always, she explains. He'd just be sitting around having a cup of tea with them, but he was always there. I'm getting the sense that he was always there, Andy. I don't know.
I think so, yeah. It's nerdy and weird.
The trial at Chelmsford Crown Court was told DeWitt's frequent visits over the years were far from friendly. He had sinister intentions and a plot of calculated manipulation was unfolding. After the bodies were discovered, it was the catalyst for the next stage to plant a fake will he had created in the house, giving him control of the Baxters' business. In hindsight, there's a lot of things that add up, Miss Dawson says, but at the time, I wouldn't have even thought about it. During the trial, the court heard DeWitt first met the Baxters sometime around 2012 or 13 and became more involved in their lives over the years. Mrs. Baxter was suffering from a thyroid condition, and her mental state was deteriorating. Yeah, I mean, you don't need any more details. That was the main thing, I think. So yeah, he's awaiting trial, and he's a dick. To summarize,
I was reading about Mercy the other day. Actually, it's a really sort of idyllic kind of looking island in like it's an island in between like in an estuary, and it kind of has that Midsummer but more Essex kind of vibes in a way. So I could see that.
Yeah. Just seeing if there's any other details, but other than him rewriting the will to get the business. When police visited his home in July last year, they found 80 electronic devices. Many had been used to communicate with the Baxters while posing as fake personalities. One even had images of the couple dead in their armchairs, taken by a hidden camera he had watched them die on.
Jesus, that's fucked.
A bag found in his bedroom contained fentanyl patches, medication capsules, and metal tacks. Yeah, it says, but why would a murderer keep his weapons out in the open? Detective Superintendent Rob Kirby, head of Major Crime of Essex Police, believes he was planning to strike again. He is without doubt one of the most dangerous men I have ever experienced in my policing career. He fooled everyone. He befriended people, came across as a very amenable, helpful person, but in the background, he was a cool, calculated killer who spent years planning the demise of Carol and Stephen Baxter. I have absolutely no doubt that had he not been caught, he would have gone on to commit further crimes.
That is messed up.
During his trial, he gave evidence from a wheelchair, which prosecutor Tracy Ailing Casey said was unnecessary and simply an attempt to attract sympathy from the jury. DeWitt's downfall was the arrogance that existed within him. He didn't cover his tracks properly, and he was deluded into thinking he could use fentanyl to kill 2 people, and that wouldn't be found to be suspicious. Unfortunately for DeWitt, the trail of fentanyl led straight back to him. Yeah, that's the end.
That is pretty dark. I'm glad you didn't say that for the last one.
Yes. Hey,
So,
Essex. Close enough to Wessex.
yeah, it sounds like it and everything, just a letter away. So this one is far to the west in America. So, you know,
America.
yeah. It's yeah, this one, it's, you know, it's light-hearted, very down to earth. Man claims he was abducted by aliens who made him perform sexual experiments.
So we said articles, not personal anecdotes.
All names have been changed here to protect. Yeah.
You said America. I think you meant Bournemouth.
So, a Bournemouth man, Stephen Andrew. So, the guy is called Julius Shields, who's 28. A Missouri man has claimed he was abducted by extraterrestrials who performed sexual experiments on him and stole his sperm.
Yeah.
Julius Shields, 28, has opened up about the first time aliens made contact with him on his YouTube channel, Soft White Underbelly.
Right, hang on. Wyrd Wessex is going to subscribe to that.
Excellent.
Hang on. Soft White Underbelly. See if I can find it. But make sure. I don't want to do it as Saxon Forager. Let me just switch accounts. Saxon Forager would never subscribe to that.
I've just
go. As soon as you put the word soft into YouTube, it comes up. Soft White Underbelly is the first thing that comes up.
Probably getting a lot of traction now.
5.41 million subscribers. Oof.
Well, yeah, we're not exactly going to be making him famous, are we?
Wow.
The encounter happened when he was just 17 years old. He claimed the aliens performed sexual experiments on him and stole his sperm to create hybrid alien-human babies. Shields believes he may have alien babies out there. Recalling the experience, Julius said the initial contact seemed friendly. He claims he saw glowing orbs floating outside his home, and then one of the creatures started to tap on the window. He had 3 tentacles and raised them up and started tapping on the window. That was the first time I'd seen something that wasn't human, apart from like animals and stuff, I guess. And when I saw that, I just froze. I didn't make a move, he said. He was so scared after the encounter that he began sleeping in a different room, but that didn't stop the creature. The YouTuber then began having weird, explicit dreams involving the aliens. It got more sexual because there was a full week straight where I was having wet dreams every night, he said. I was having sex with different creatures, women, and just different stuff. I would wake up and I would look at my pants, and sometimes there'd be nothing, and sometimes it would just be wet. There was no actual sperm in there. In the video, he claimed the aliens were taking his sperm in an attempt to make hybrid babies, adding, "I've done my research on this stuff, and I know that's what came. What they came to me. They're called the Greys. They're not very big creatures. They're only about 3 to 4 feet tall. They drive saucers, and they have a mothership. It's almost.
I've got an anecdote. Do you want me to do an anecdote?
Yes.
You just triggered something in my brain then.
Is that the chip the Greys planted?
So, well, we're going back probably 10 or so, maybe a little bit more years ago. We lived.
This isn't a wet dream story, is it?
Yeah. You don't want it. We lived in a masonette, which is like, it was like an L-shaped property. So it was bigger downstairs than upstairs.
Yeah.
Right. She had like a living room, kitchen, bedroom. Anyway, completely irrelevant. I once had a dream, and this would have been before I would have, because you get this classic grey picture, right? But they always
Yeah.
seem fairly tall to me. They don't seem like they're 3 foot tall. But in this dream, slash maybe it was real, there was one of these beings in my bedroom. And if you ask Emma, most of my dreams, generally my dreams are boring. I'm like at work and stuff in my dreams. Nothing ever interesting
I
happens.
once dreamt I did a full day of work and then woke up and did another full day of work. It's stuck.
So yeah, 3 foot being, and I was speechless, and I was thinking, this could be first contact here. Whatever I say is really important, and I need to get the right. And I couldn't. I like.
I think you told me about this.
I think I did when we were planning this podcast,
Yeah.
but it's just that idea that because the beings aren't often 3 foot tall, and so my dream kind of tallies with this man's wet dreams.
That is a sentence I don't often hear uttered.
But I'm just saying, I'm a wet dream sympathizer, and
New band name.
But I don't know. I woke up in my bed. That was it. But at the time I thought it was a dream, but now I'm like, well, it kind of tallies with 3 foot tall beings.
Yeah, okay. So now we know it's exclusive just to our Patreons that Craig is indeed a wet dream sympathizer.
We need that on a t-shirt.
I think there are support groups for that, mate. You're probably not alone.
Exclusive Patreon merch.
It's almost astonishing, but it makes you realise there's just more to life than just what we have here on Earth. Over the last 10 years, Julius has been trying to figure out what the dreams meant. I'm sure a therapist could tell you all about that. He believes that he may have quasi-alien children out there. Give it maybe 10 years or so, and then I'm curious to see what happens. Because if it's real and I do have extraterrestrial children, and they use my sperm to recreate life and do whatever, I would really hope those individuals wouldn't be brainwashed enough to be able to come back and try and figure out where it all started. And that's where the article ends.
Yeah. It assumes that we can crossbreed with an alien species, which I think is very far-fetched.
Maybe science, if they can get here from fuck knows
Well, there is a theory that they're time travelers. And it's actually us. And due to, because sperm counts and stuff are going down, and gradually, maybe in the future, we're not able to breed anymore. So we go back into the past and harvest sperm so that we can keep humanity alive. It is a theory.
Isn't that because we're not eating enough red meat and we're all soy boys now? Or it's because we've got everything riddled in microplastics and our diets is shit.
Yes.
Incidentally, I think red meat can also lower your sperm count. But
on that happy note.
Yeah. But yeah, it depends on which flavour of conspiracy you're going for.
Yeah.
I did hear someone suggest once that it's just nature balancing out the fact there's too many of us.
Maybe.
So I did find an extra one on my quest. So maybe I could, or maybe I'll save it. Who knows? Just as I was
supposed to end on 9.
Yeah. Okay. End on yours then. I'll save this one.
Only because we like the number 9, right? So
We do like the number 9. There's mystery to it.
I think I did throw a bonus one in last time, so I think we ended up with 10. But
it's got to be different.
This one's not too weird. Flat secretly turned into a fantasy world by tenant gets special status.
Want to come around here? No, go on.
A rented flat secretly converted into a fantasy world by its tenant has been given a grade 2 listed status after volunteers campaign to save it. The ground floor apartment of the semi-detached house in Oxton, Merseyside was decorated by artist Ron Gittins who lived there for more than 30 years. He crafted fireplaces in the shape of a lion and a minotaur, fashioned a Roman altar in the kitchen, and painted the walls with floor-to-ceiling Egyptian, Greek, and marine-themed murals. Mr. Gittins only allowed a handful of people inside the home, but when his niece Jan Williams visited after his death in 2019, she made saving the flat, which has become known as Ron's Place, her mission. Shall I share you some so you can actually see some of these images?
Yes, please do.
It's pretty cool. Here we go. So there's his fireplace.
That is cool. That is really cool.
And then it's just like these murals and stuff.
Nice.
The lion.
Wow. And wait, are those sex dolls?
Wait, what? I think that's papier-mâché.
Look at the...
Papier-mâché sex dolls, right?
I think so. Look at that. You ever seen that Fools and Horses episode with the blow-up sex dolls?
Not that I can recall.
They're like inflated. They're like filled with explosive gas, and they got to get rid of them. It's a whole thing. But yeah, it just reminds me of that.
Because they papier-mâché sex dolls. Title of my sex tape. There you go. Look, there's the ceiling.
That's also my new band name.
What? There's the ceiling.
No.
I used to have this bit, right? Back when I was a young adult and living with a mate of mine, and we would sit around getting stoned. You get those awkward silences where like no one's saying anything.
Yeah.
I used to have this bit that used to just crack everybody up. I just kind of go, do you like what I've done with the ceiling? And everybody without fail would look up and go, what? And it just became this thing. And yeah. Maybe it's funnier when you're stoned.
Everything is. Everything is.
Yeah. We should get stoned and do this. That's what we're saying.
We'll go to Amsterdam and do it so it's legal. We don't get in trouble for it.
Right. Yeah. So that was my last news. We ended on something very light there.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. That was a good episode, I think, full of personal anecdotes.
Yeah, I was going to say, you definitely know a lot more about us.
Wet dreams.
Weird sympathies.
Oh, dear. Right. It's getting late. It's 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Better than being 1 o'clock in the morning. So we
This
probably
is
sound
true.
more awake than we normally do.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, so that's about it for this Weird News Wextra. Thank you for being Patreons, and hopefully you enjoyed that. We're hoping to release some other content fairly soon.
Yeah, we've got a few ideas for some different stuff. Some reviews, some just us basically prattling around as well, I think.
Yeah, and possibly we might do some like commentary of some old TV shows and stuff, I think, that are relevant to Wyrd Wessex.
And yeah, you might get the odd early release as well of stuff that we're gonna throw out a bit later on the general channel.
Yeah. And if there's anything particularly you want like as bonus content, or if there's a subject you want us to cover as well, then send us an email, wyrdwessex@pm.me, or contact us on our Discord.
Indeed,
It's going down in the Discord. We've got 3 members now, and 2 of them are me and Andy.
A few people have asked me for it. I need to send them across an invite. A few people have asked me about it.
This has turned into a very rambly ending.
It is.
It is. But this is what you're paying for, guys. See you next time.
Thanks. See you next time. Stay weird.
And you.